This is the screencast for Lesson 5 of Visual Basic 24-Hour Trainer. This lesson is about making menus, and in this try you're going to build a main menu and a context menu that duplicates the same features as the format submenu from the main menu. So here's an empty application. Let's start by adding our menu and building it. So we'll simply put a menu strip on the form. When you have it selected, you'll see these type here boxes. They tell you where you can type things to build the menu. So I'll start by building a file menu. I'm putting an ampersand in front of the S, so that becomes the menu's accelerator key, and it's displayed with an underscore. For the exit command, by convention, the accelerator key is the X. Now, programs generally don't do anything when the user selects a main menu or even a cascading submenu. They typically only do things when you select a menu item like this one. So this menu item here, this file toolstrip menu item object, never appears in code, so I'm not going to bother to give it a good name. That would just clutter up IntelliSense. This one, however, is going to have an event handler, so I should give it a more descriptive name. My convention is I type menu for menu, and then I give the path to the item through the menus. So in this case, it's in the file menu, and its name is exit. So its full name is menu file exit. I'm going to double click on it and give it its code, which is quite simple. It's just me.close. That tells the currently running form to close itself. So back here, now I'm going to create a format menu. I would like to use the F as the accelerator because it's the first letter, but I've already used F at this level of the menu structure, and I can't use it again. If you have two commands that use the same accelerator key, then it's not clear which one will fire if the user presses Alt F. So in this case, I'm going to use the second letter, the O. In here, I'm going to create three cascading submenus: color, background, and font. And they have their own items. So when you click on one, you'll see another type here box appears to the right, and that's where we can type our commands. So it's going to be red, green, and blue. And as I often do, at this point I remember that I didn't give these accelerators. So let me go back and give them some accelerators. I'll just put the ampersands in front of them. It's good to give every menu item an accelerator. That way the user can navigate the menu structure more easily with the with the keyboard instead of using the mouse. All right, so meanwhile back over here we've got our color menu. Let's do the background menu. Add red, green, and blue options here. And then finally font. For this one we're going to have small, normal, and large. Now these menu items here at the end of the menu hierarchy are going to do things, so I should give them better names. So I'm going to follow my usual convention. I'll say menu, format menu. In this case it's the color submenu, and I'm going to use Control-C to copy that into the paste buffer, and then red for this item. So this one is menu format color green, and this one is menu format color blue. We'll do something similar for these. This will be menu format background red, menu format background green, and menu format background blue. Finally, for the font menu, menu format font small, normal, and large. Now if you look at this menu, we've got a top level menu. It has menus, file, and format. They have cascading menus. Generally you don't want to go too much deeper than that when you build a menu structure. Usually most programs stop at that level. You might go one level deeper, but if you get too deep, the user has trouble finding things in the menu hierarchy. In that case, you may need to think more about how your structure is built. Perhaps you should move one of these items into its own top level menu. All right, let's build some event handlers. So for the color menus, red, and sometimes the editor gets a little bit confused, and usually if you just click around on different items, you can get it back to where you want it. So let's go to the color menus red command, and here I want to change the color used for the foreground color by the text box. I haven't added the text box yet, so let's do that now. Here's our text box, and you can see it's not honoring the docking wishes of that menu. So I'm going to fix that by docking it to fill the form. You'll notice now it fills the width of the form but not the height. That's because this multi-line property is false. If I set that to true so it will allow multiple lines, now it fills the form nicely. And I'm going to manipulate this thing in code, so I'm going to give it a good name. And then just so it's easy to manipulate, I'm going to give it some text. So all right, so there's a little bit of sample text so we can see the effects of this thing when we run our program. So let's create some event handlers now. Here's the one for the red color. All we want to do is set that TextBox's foreground color equal to the color red. Now IntelliSense is smart enough that if I type red, it's going to list all these choices that have red in them, so I don't have to type color.red if I don't want to. And the other commands are very similar. txtquote.foreground color equals green, and txtquote.foreground color equals blue. For the background colors, I'm going to use txtquote.backcolor equals pink, so it's a slightly lighter red. txtquote.background color equals light green. And txtquote.backcolor equals light blue. Now setting the font is a little bit different because the font isn't a simple thing with predefined values like light blue. It's not a simple number or a string. It's an object of its own, so we have to create a new one. So what I'm going to say is txtquote.font equals, and now here we have to create our new font. So I'll simply say new font. And at this point, you can see IntelliSense gives you 13 different overloaded versions of the font, of the font's constructor. So there's a lot of different ways you can make the font. You can make it with a prototype font. For example, you could pass in the forms font and then change its style. You can give it a font family and a size. You can give it a font family name, a size, and a style, and so on. The first one is the easiest one. It's just a font family name and a size. So here I'm going to use Times New Roman, if I can remember how to type, for the font family name, and then for size, for the small font, I'm going to use 6 point, which is quite small. For the normal size, I'm going to copy and paste this code and change it to 12 point. That's fairly large. Now let's make it 10 point. That's a little more normal. And then for the large font, I'm going to change it to 20 points. So that should be quite large. So let's run the program and see that this much works. So there's our text. If I change the color to red and the background color to pink, that looks pretty good. And let's change the font to, there's the normal font. It's slightly bigger than the default font. And if you look really close, you'll also notice that the font style changed. This is Times New Roman, and that's not the default. Let me go to large. And let's go to tiny. So if you have really sharp eyes, you can read that. So we're almost done with the program. The other thing we need to do is add a context menu. So to do that, let's go over here to the toolbar, find the context menu strip, and just add one to the form. It does not have any presence on the form. When the user runs it, it doesn't really appear until you make it appear. So you can see there's no place on the form where you can click on it to select it. So if you ever click off of a context menu, the place to find it is down here in the component tray. You just click on it, and when you do, you get this little thing which looks a lot like a menu file editor. The main difference is there's no top level, so there's no place for you to put the file and format menus. Instead, this is more like taking the format menu off on its own. So in here where you would add the commands that we want to have on this context menu, in this case, it's going to duplicate the format menu. So the first item is color. And you can go over here and you can give it commands, just like you can with the main menu editor. So there's the red, green, and blue color menus. The context menu itself, you do need to manipulate a little bit at design time at least, probably not in code. but it's easier if you give it a good name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one CTX for context menu format, because really these are the formatting commands. Now, just as we had to give these bottom level items in the main menu good names, we need to do that for this as well. So I'm going to follow my same convention, CTX format, that's the name of the context menu we're in, and then red, color, and then red. Similarly here we have CTX format color green, CTX format color blue. And you can build the menu the same way we built the main menu, no problem. There is a shortcut you can use, however. If you go up here and you open up the main menu for editing, if we click, I'm going to click on the background button and then shift click the font button. Now the editor is a little confused. And now I'm going to press Control C to copy. Hopefully I've copied those two items onto the clipboard. So now if I go back into this editor and press paste, it gave me a background and a font menu. And if you open them up, you'll see, now it got a little confused. Let's try again. Paste. There we go. Okay, and I messed up my order. I can just, let me close it and reopen it and see if I can unconfuse the thing. If I just click on this one, I can drag it up into the position I want to get the order I want. Now when I pasted the background and font menus, you see they came along with their submenus. So for a big menu structure, that can save you a lot of time. The one catch is their names are all different. So this is now called Toolstrip Menu Item 2. The reason is it can't have the same name as an item in this format menu, so it had to have a new name. So all we need to do now is give them better names. So CTX format background red would be this one. And this one is CTX format background green and blue. And I'll let you do the one for the font menu. So the last thing we need to do is hook these event handlers up. Oh, well, there's two more things. One is we have to hook them up to events, these menu items. So to do that, you can do it in two ways. You can go over here to the Properties window, select Events, find the click event for this control, open the drop-down, and then find the event handler that you want to use this same event. Now in this case, we're setting the red color, so it'd be MNU format color red. That's the event handler we've already built for this one. Let's do the same for green and the same for blue. Now the other way you can do it is you can go into the code and find the event handler you want to use. For example, let's do the background colors. There's the background red click, and it currently handles MNU format background red click. We're going to add here CTX format background red dot click. So I can just type it in there if I want to. And then I can do the same for the green one and the blue one. All right, and I'll let you wire up the font menus similarly on your own. So the one last thing we need to do, we have this context menu, but right now it's not attached to anything. It's just sort of on the form, not doing anything. We need to find the control that you want to display it and attach it. So I click on the text box, come to the Properties window, and I need the Properties tab. Come up to its context menu property, context menu strip, open the drop down, and there's our context menu. And if you had more than one on this form, you'd find them here. So we just select that. The rest is automatic. So now if you right click on this text box, it will display its context menu. So let's run the program. I'm going to use the format menu's font command to make it large because we didn't wire that one up in the context menu. But when I right click, the menu appears, and I can go in here and change this to green. I can go into the background menu and change the background to blue. And that's it for this example.